This is Eric Mwatha with Mwatha.com. It is August the 26th, 2011, Friday after the close. And for the weekend video, we see here that this Friday the market closed up 134 points on the Dow, the Nasdaq up 2.6%, and the S&P 500 about 1.51%. So now let's go to the charts here and try and understand what the market was doing. Now, at some point this morning, the Dow, this is a chart for the S&P 500 hourly chart, and what this chart is showing us is that on the RSI, you'll see that at the lows of the day, when the Dow was down 210 points, right there, the RSI bounced and touched this red line right there. Hope you can see that. And then also on this chart there's a lot of information, because yesterday at the highs of the day, when the Dow was up 100 points, and the Dow gave up all those points and was down 170 points at the close of yesterday, at the highs the market had hit that level right there on the RSI. Now today, when the Dow was up 170 points at the highs, again it hit that line and stalled or pulled back into the close. Now that's one way to look at it. So there's two scenarios developing here, or at least one scenario, and without a conclusion yet, and that is that the market seems to be bouncing off the RSI on the hourly charts right there, between these two lines here and here. So at some point we are either going to break out of this range or we are going to break down, and since it's kind of in a wedge, it's very hard to tell. You'll also notice that the Dow, the S&P 500, hit the highs of this level here. You draw a straight line, you get the highs of yesterday, and we stalled, or we hit the highs and closed at that line right there. Exactly that's where we closed going into the weekend. So we'll see what Monday brings, but that's the scenario. We are at resistance in what seems like a coiling action within the RSI on the hourly. One way we either get a breakout or a stall. If I was going to make my own thinking is that the market stalls, and maybe we've seen the Friday's high was short-term highs for the next couple of days. At least that's what I think. Let's move on here. Let's take a look at the Dow on the daily. You'll notice quite obviously that the Dow is back at this RSI top lines right here. The Dow is at this level right there, and don't forget that we are also trading below the 50-day moving average, and we are also trading below the 200-day moving average, which is flattening out. So anything below this line, anything below this declining top lines here and below the moving average is always going to be considered questionable in terms of rally sustenance. Also notice going into the weekend, we stalled exactly on the RSI top lines. If you take a look at again, this is the Dow 1 year daily, and you'll notice on the RSI we hit this line right here into the close. So we stalled exactly at resistance. If we can't move above that line come early next week, then we're going to roll over and again more than likely try and test this lows here of Dow 10,600. So as long as we can't move above that line on the RSI, I would expect this market to stall and then also to be trending lower to test this 10,600. On the other hand, there's a bearish scenario, a bullish scenario, in which the market could move above that line and short-term have some couple of short-term rally. But again, remember, we're going to have resistance, natural resistance from a downward sloping 50-day moving average, even if that happens. So I'm going to default to the market stalling. If it breaks out, we'll see how far that rally can go. The airline index, again we are looking at a 6 months hourly chart for the airline index, and you'll notice again at the lows of today. Now remember, this red line on the RSI was already established, because at the lows of the day right there, Dow down 210 points on Friday, that was when this instrument hit that RSI line. That's a nice support area, and it bounced off that. So again, you'll notice on another instrument here, the airline hourly, we seem to be stuck within these two lines here. So we are either gonna break out or we are gonna break down, and I think that is gonna be resolved sometime next week, probably early next week. And whichever direction the market is gonna pick, I think it's gonna be good for a big move, up or down. Now this chart is probably one of the favorite charts on this video because it's gonna exactly show you what's going on. Now if you check the yellow shaded area on the Nasdaq, and this is the Nasdaq as observed from the QQQ, the QQQ 1 year daily, I think actually it's 1.5 year daily chart, you'll notice that this yellow shaded area has been a significant area in this market. Number one, it gave us a buy point in December of 2010. It was support March of 2011, support in June of 2011, and we broke below that sometime in, I would say in let me see, in August we broke down, and we've tried at some point in August to move above that yellow shaded area, and we failed. Once we failed, the market did actually trend lower since then. Now unless the market can muscle its way out of that, see whether we got, unless the market can muscle its way above that yellow shaded area, I would keep on suspecting this market is gonna be under pressure. Now, but for now it seems like that's where the market closed, just close to the shaded area. That's where the market closed out for the end of the week. We'll see what happens come Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. But if it can't move above that, then the obvious direction is for it to come back and test the lows it made in August. So that's a scenario. This is a nice chart that shows up where the market has been either finding support or resistance, and it's a clearly defined area. So I say above the shaded area the market is bullish, below the shaded area the market is gonna stay bearish. Now again, take a look at the QQQ on an hourly chart. Again, you're gonna see shaded area is an area of support for a couple of going back a couple of months, and here it was again we saw resistance here in middle of August, and we are still below that yellow shaded area. As long as we remain below that yellow shaded area, I'm gonna default to the fact that this market is still gonna be under pressure, and it's gonna be probably gonna be going lower to test its August lows. Now another view of this chart here is again the hourly chart on the RSI. You'll notice that every time, for example at the highs right there, at the highs, once we stop below that red line and move below that red line, the market had a huge drop. Now over the last couple of sometime in August, the market tried to rally and it stalled exactly at that RSI level on the hourly. Alright, that corresponds with that high. Now we are exactly back at that resistance level. So if we can't move above that, and if we find ourselves stalling, then that's confirmation that this market is still gonna be under pressure.